After a wild morning of crashes on the interstates tied to those slick roads, another crash sends a car into a retention pond on the southeast side. A woman pulled from that car just a short time ago, and RTV6's Aaron Lish joins us live from the scene of that crash. Aaron, what can you tell us?
Well, a woman was pulled out of this pond less than an hour ago here at Thompson and 5 Points. According to officials, she was rushed to Eskenazi Hospital in working cardiac arrest. Now, they learned from witnesses that the woman in her late 50s to early 60s was actually slumped over the car driving down Thompson. She ended up going through the roundabout, slamming into a telephone pole and sending the car into the pond. Now, a dive team was sent out facing really low visibility in these waters. Officials say that witness who ended up staying at the scene was absolutely critical.
This particular retention pond runs anywhere between 30 to 40 feet. It's a significantly large retention pond, and had we not had that witness, it could have taken several hours to actually locate the car. So it is absolutely critical that if you do witness something like that, that you stay on scene.
A big issue for this dive team was it took longer for that rescue because their tools were actually breaking when they were trying to work for those windows. Now, they had to actually continuously switch those divers out there. Now, crews, they're still out here. They're working to pull that car out of this pond. Again, the woman that was in this vehicle, she was sent to Eskenazi in working cardiac arrest. Live on the southeast side, Aaron Lish, RTV6.
Aaron, thank you for that update. Well, we are less than 2 weeks away from spring, but the morning commute was straight out of midwinter today. That drive was extremely hazardous due to a thin coating of snow and ice coupled with the temperatures that were below freezing. Now take a look here. This was I-465 near I-74 on the southeast side this morning. A car there sliding off into an embankment near Shadeland Avenue. It took a dozen firefighters just to get that driver out of the vehicle. And then this was the worst crash of the morning. 14 cars involved in this pileup along westbound I-70 just before Holt Road. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries in this crash, but later a pedestrian was hit after getting out of their car because of a separate crash on I-70. That pedestrian is expected to be okay. And an earlier crash also shutting down a part of I-74 near the Ronald Reagan Parkway. There were also crashes impacting interstate traffic near Plainfield and up in Anderson this morning. Now, the good news is there were no life-threatening injuries reported at those crashes. Now, all the problems this morning may lead you to wonder whether the interstates had been treated before this morning commute. Now, we heard drivers who said they didn't see any salt on the roads until much later. We're talking about those interstates. But the Indiana Department of Transportation says that their trucks were at work on the roads long before the snow arrived.
We had some very isolated areas with slick spots, which can happen in any event. And again, because we'd had kind of a dry period, there wasn't a lot of moisture on the roadway. So when that salt hit the surface, it didn't activate as quickly as maybe it otherwise would have.
All right, well, Todd Clausen joins me here this midday. Todd, we know temperatures played a little bit of a role in this as well, and we saw most of the issues on those bridges and overpasses.
Yeah, you know, we hammer that home all the time. Watch out for those bridges and overpasses. They freeze first, and that's exactly what happened. Then you're on the highway, obviously going at a higher rate of speed compared to some of the city streets, and you just hit one slick spot, and you get these chain reactions. So it's not necessarily always how much snow you see or what's exactly falling from the sky, because there wasn't really much falling from the sky as far as snow goes this morning. It was all left over from earlier in the overnight. So yeah, hammer it home once again. Slow down when we're dealing with any sort of wintry conditions out there. We do have some snow showers. These look a lot worse on radar than they actually are. It's just a few flurries from Lebanon up to Carmel over towards the Anderson area. As we slide down to the south, you notice the coverage of the snow showers is a little bit better from Bloomington to Nashville to Columbus, and then eventually down towards the Seymour area. But again, not all this is really reaching the ground, because when we take a look at the live tower camera in Bloomington across campus of IU, you really don't see much at all. In fact, if anything, you see a few peaks of sunshine out there. So there will be some snow showers off and on throughout the course of the afternoon hours, but really nothing more than that, and I don't really think it will cause any issues on the roadways. This is an issue, though, the temperatures. Look at this, 28 right now in Lafayette. It's 28 in Bloomington, 31 in Muncie. We still have a little bit of a wind. That's putting wind chill values in the teens across the area, so you really need to bundle up. We're not going to warm much more here throughout the course of the day today. getting up to right around 34 degrees with some flurries. And then eventually this evening, the snow showers come to an end. We'll talk more about your Friday and weekend, Lauren, coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you. Well, you know you got the light snow here, but out in the Northeast, it's another day of digging out. Almost 3 feet of snow falling in some areas, bad roads, power outages, and frustration up and down the East Coast. ABC's Zachary Quiche has more.
Parts of New York and New Jersey getting hit hard. Some areas seeing 28 inches of snow.
You've been stuck on here since 1 o'clock.
3 different interstates shut down. Spun out and stalled cars dotted this stretch of Interstate 280. The unluckiest drivers sat in their vehicles overnight, stranded on the road at a standstill for hours.
Still stranded out here.
The board at LaGuardia Airport telling an equally frustrating story. This is winter at the airport in Philadelphia. More than 3,200 flights in total canceled to this point. And this is teamwork. Northeastern University women's basketball squad pushed themselves out after getting benched by the snow on the campus of St. Joe's in Philly. Trains, not much better.
We got on 6:11, then the 6:33, and then they got us off that train, and now here we are.
Passengers trapped for hours at hubs like Grand Central Station.
I'm moving to Florida next week, so this is the last.
And in Wilmington, a train derailment and evacuation. In neighborhoods across the Northeast, downed trees knocked out power, forcing many to battle indoor temps below comfortable levels. And look at this. In Pennsylvania, the Ben Salem Fire Rescue posted this video of a power line exploding. A number of folks along this same stretch still reeling from a storm that came through and knocked out power just days ago, and now news that another nor'easter could come by early next week. Zachary Quiche, ABC News, New York.
Well, just a few hours from now, people from across the state and law enforcement from all across the country will pay their respects to Boone County Deputy Jacob Pickett. Family, friends, and other law enforcement officers are expected to show their support for the officer killed in the line of duty last week. His visitation is today at Crown Hill Funeral Home from 2 until 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow, a celebration of life service will be held at Connection Point Christian Church in Brownsburg. That's at 11 a.m. He'll then be buried at the Heroes site at Crown Hill Cemetery. We'll have live coverage of Jacob Pickett's funeral procession and the service throughout the day tomorrow, right here on RTV6. Well, it's almost time to set your clocks forward. Coming up next on the news at noon, some tips on how to keep that time change from interfering with how many Z's you catch at night. And remember this, the old phone at your wall, on the desk. Coming up, we'll go back in time to a major change in communication. And the things we do when we're on camera, especially when we don't know we're being recorded. A prank that turned into a fun human experiment at a restaurant. That story's coming up next on the news at noon. Todd.
And Lauren, I wish these snow showers were a prank here across central Indiana. Unfortunately, not the case. Not only are we dealing with the snow showers, very chilly wind chill values as you see across the Midwest, but warmer days are ahead. We'll talk all about it in your Storm Team 6 forecast. You're watching your RTV6 News at Noon.
World News Tonight, and we thank you. From the station working for you, this is RTV6 News at Noon.
Welcome back. Well, we hate to remind you guys of this, but a time change is coming this weekend. We're going to lose an hour of sleep on Sunday as we're springing forward, and we know it's just going to mess up everyone's sleeping schedule, as it always does. Dr. Shalini Manchanda here from IU Health today to talk with us about some tips to keep your sleep on schedule during this switch-up time for daylight savings. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we have some do's and don'ts. Let's start with the do's, some tips that people can do at home to kind of adjust to the new sleep schedule.
So the first thing that we usually recommend is that you can start going to bed just a little bit early and then waking up just a little earlier, just to kind of adapt to this change and losing the hour of sleep, so to speak. And that might help you adapt a little bit in preparation. And then the other thing is not to skimp on sleep. So get the required 7 to 9 hours if you're an adult, and a little bit longer if you're a child, in order to get adequate amounts of sleep. So those would be the two big things to do. And maintain a regular schedule.
Okay, very guilty of not doing those things here, but talk to me about the things you should not do, some of the big ones.
Okay, so we all hit the coffee pot. We all think, oh, that's really going to keep us going. So, avoidance of any kind of stimulant or depressant, if you will, so caffeine or alcohol, those two things, or any other substances like that, that is usually not a good idea to try and combat the effects of not sleeping enough. Is usually not suggested. And so that would be the one thing that I would stay away from. So that's a don't.
Okay. And, any other don'ts that are big ones?
I think right now that's what's coming to mind.
Okay,
so.
Perfect. So talk to me a little bit about sleep. It's important for our overall health, not just feeling, you know, good when we go to work, right? How important is it, and why is it so important that we're adjusting and getting enough sleep?
So, you know, your reaction time really goes down if you haven't slept enough. And so we're doing important things. We're driving, you know, sometimes driving very precious cargo, our family, etc.
Yes.
And then being on the road, there are other drivers, so your reaction time when you're driving is important. So you've got to be careful about motor vehicle crashes. And with this hour decrease of sleep, we know that motor vehicle crashes increase in the spring after this loss of an hour. So be careful. So really that's important. And then we know that people who don't sleep enough have an increased risk of cardiovascular ill health. So really important to be mindful of sleeping enough. And if you have other sleep disorders, one should really discuss it with your doctor and consider maybe seeing a sleep specialist if it's not something that's not been addressed.
All right, Dr. Manchanda, thank you so much for being here and those tips. A reminder, set the clock forward before you go to bed on Saturday night. 2 a.m. is when it switches over. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, coming up, we'll get a visit from a funny man, and we'll tell you how you can have a long night of laughs with a group that brings big smiles to kids with special needs in our community. And let's take a live look outside right now. You can't see too much. This is downtown Westview. Some snow flurries blowing across the camera there. We'll check in with Todd Clausen and get his full forecast coming up after the break. You're watching the news at noon on RTV6. Well, a landline phone may be a thing of the past for you, but in Indy 35 years ago, they were the center of quite the debate. It's our Throwback Thursday segment today. Now, before 1983, it was common for people to rent their phones in their homes, but the year that you first bought Michael Jackson's Thriller album was also the year that that changed, and you had the option to buy your own home phone.
We're offering that simply as an option to the customer. If they'd like to buy the telephone in their home, they can do that, or they can continue to lease it from us. Now, we're offering 3 types of telephone for sale: the regular desk or wall set and touch tone or rotary dial, the Princess telephone, and the trimline telephone. The prices range from $19.96 to $54.96.
All right, well, the reason for all of this was the Bell system breakup in the 1980s, giving you more control over your phone. Don't forget, you can see this story or any of our other Throwback Thursday segments on the indychannel.com/history. Pretty cool there. Let's take a look, though, outside. What's not cool is what this looks like, Todd. This is our view from the pagoda looking back towards downtown. You can kind of see the city skyscrapers there.
Just remember when it was 77 in February, right? You know, here we are in March. We're dealing with some light snow showers. That's the view from IMS. We'll show you another view here from our tower on top of the Salesforce Tower in downtown Indianapolis. And you can see the snow falling here very lightly. This is going to reduce visibilities, but it really shouldn't impact the roadways all that much. And then we'll continue on a tour here across the area. Up in Carmel, you can see that there's not much of anything going on. And then as we look down into the Bloomington area, there as well, there's not a whole lot in the way of snowfall. So it just really depends where you are, as these snow showers will stream through central Indiana from time to time. They look a little worse on radar than they actually are. We'll go over to a different type of radar, and this will help depict which ones are making it to the ground. And there's some spotty showers in and around Bloomington, Nashville, over towards Columbus. And again, as these go through, they'll reduce visibility on the roadways just a little bit. If anything, maybe it could be down just a brief little coating on the roadways, and that should be just about it. And then here's that snow shower that's moving through downtown Indianapolis right now. And then to the north, there's not really a whole lot going on, but we still have those winds out of the northwest, and that's the direction that it's blowing all these snow showers, from the northwest down towards the southeast. So we'll deal with them off and on throughout the afternoon hours. We'll be locked in with the cloud cover as well. The clouds don't really break apart until overnight tonight. So it's kind of a cool day, a very wintry feel with the snow showers, and as well as these temperatures that will feel even colder when you factor in the 15-mile-per-hour wind that we have out of the northwest. So the numbers on the left, those are the actual temperatures. The blue numbers to the right, those are your wind chill values. Feels like only 17 degrees right now in Indianapolis, and as well as Peru. 16 is what it feels like currently in Lafayette, and with the wind, with the clouds, our temperatures won't really go up much more. Here's your next 12-hour temperature trend, and we only get up to right around 34 degrees for our afternoon high, and then we'll slowly fall back down into the 20s by the time we get to midnight tonight. So your evening planner keeps the snow showers around at least early on, and then just partly to mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow things start to change a little bit. We start off with some cloud cover, but the wind's not as strong tomorrow, only about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and it changes direction, and that's going to allow the temperatures tomorrow to climb up into the low 40s. So it's a little warmer. It'll be a little brighter. It's not